Here we are with another Octane Vectron tutorial, and this time I want to create a really simple scene, just a fractal, some fog and some light, so it will be like a studio setup. First we need to create our Vectron object, and I want to use a Uberbulb setup, so just select that. I'm not going to tweak all parameters here this time, so just focus on the light and on the fog. I want to rotate the fractal a bit, so something like this. I did many loops with this way. Okay, we should be centered. And let's stick the camera so we can't move around now, but now you can. And when you click this button here, the camera will always face the fractal. And I want to change the focal length to something like 300 and move back the camera. All right, then I want to change the background color to something like black, full black, so we need a texture environment and set the RGB spectrum to black. Of course we don't see because there's no light source, but if you switch to normal kernel here, or also if you want, there's ambient shadow here, ambient occlusion, so you can see all the details of our fractal. Then we need some light, so Octane area light, and we want this light to always face the fractal. So to do that, we just need a Cinema 4D tags called target, and in the target object just select the Vectron. Now we can move this light something like that. Let's duplicate this light and change the view here to perspective so we can freely move our light. I want to have one light from the right side and one from the bottom, like that. Let's go back to our daylight, sorry, direct light kernel, and we can see that we have some nice shadow and also some light coming from the bottom. We can change the temperature of that one, and let's change also the temperature of the right one, something more cold like blue. And what we can do is create also another light, so let's duplicate this one and put that just behind our Vectron object. Like this. And now it's a little boring, so what we can add is a fog volume. So you can create Octane fog volume here in the object menu, and we want the volume to be perfectly centered on the fractal, so we don't waste render time by making the volume too big. And to do that, I usually set the volume as child of the Octane camera and reset the coordinates to 0, also the angle. And now the camera is sorry, the volume is at the same position of the camera, as you can see here, and we can just move our volume until it hits the fractal, like that. And of course this volume is too small, but if you try to change the scale here, you have to be careful, because Octane is not going to be very happy if you increase that too much. So just by safety, increase the voxel size here just a little bit, and make the volume the same size of your screen, of your image format, and the volume needs to be more thick, something like that. All right. And the volume is absorbing light, so we don't see a lot of light on the fractal. To do that, to improve that, we can decrease the medium density here, and also increase the light power. Let's try 300 and see what's happening. Let's change the position of this one. All right, there we go. And also the blue one, this one. And increase the power of that, 300 also for this one. We can also change the scattering phase here. All right. Too much. This is really slow to calculate when you have a volume. We can increase the volume step length here, so this is this will be faster and also looks way better. Actually, you should do this first. And let's move the orange light again. I don't like the too much light here. Okay, that's cool. And that's pretty much it. You can also have some God rays, and to do that you have to decrease the light size, so the outer radius should be smaller, and as you can see you have some more thin rays coming. But that takes a lot of time, and I prefer to do that in After Effects. So let's keep that around 80. This one around the half. Then in your Octane camera you can make some improvements without using After Effects. You can just make some changes here with the camera imager. You can change the LUT. We can remove all those little dots by changing the hot pixel removal here. Can just decrease that. And another thing I want to do is move the volume a bit more closer to the camera, so all right. Then what we can do is enable the spectral AI denoiser. Just double click here and you will see that a new button here appears. So even if your render is noisy, when it's finished you can click the demain button here and you will see the denoise image directly in Octane. So let's just wait for that. And we can also enable some post-processing. So you can change the bloom. We need maybe to refresh Octane. Oops, the camera moved. I don't know how. All right. You can enable the bloom. Like that, and set some cutoff. Let's just finish for this render. Maybe I'll go full screen and path tracing because it's just better. So set the GI clamp to 1 and the max samples to something like 300. So it took 3 minutes and you can see the denoised image and the original one. So Octane did a pretty good job on that denoise, on that noisy background, as you can see. And you can save the image just by clicking show in picture viewer like that, and then save as image. You can pick up your favorite format and just select the location and save it. So this is a really quick way to make interesting render. But now we could play a little bit with different materials on the same fractal as always. So to do that, I'm going to create, I'm going to disable the volume and also all the light, because I want to focus on the shape of those, sorry, on the materials, and this is the quickest way to render that. So I want some black material, something like a glossy black material. Let's create that. So diffuse, I need a glossy one, and set the diffuse to something around here with some blue in it, like that, and some roughness, just a little bit. Come on, Octane. Okay. And I also want to create a gold material. Let's create a Octane material, and this time I need a metallic one. The diffuse will be just a yellow gold material, so I'm just eyeballing that, and the specular also needs to be kind of gold, like that. In the roughness map, we can use an image texture, so cinema 4D, blah 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 blah, and image texture. Here I'm going to select a dirt map. You can just Google dirt. Here we have our map, and we need to change the projection to a box because it's not working. Will not work like with UV mapping objects. Sorry, it's not going to work like standard objects because it's a fractal. And let's just apply this gold material to our Vectron object and see what we have here, and increase the ray epsilon so we can see how our roughness map is working or is not. All right. Not really working well. It takes more time to set up that. But what we can do now is create a new mix material, and sorry, I said create a new octane mix material and put the first material here and the second there. All right, let's apply this mix, and now we need an amount here, which will be our famous gradient, octane gradient, blah 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 blah. Where is that gradient? And then let's open the node editor, actually it's faster. And then we need delete the float texture and apply an OSL gradient. So here we don't need all these kind of gradients, so just set this to black and leave a little, just a little stripe of white, so we have some gold detail here. We can also change the angle of our OSL gradient, so you can get the gold just where you want. And if this angle is not enough, you can change the U scale in the Vectron object. So let's try to decrease that or increase. Okay, I like this kind of gold detail here. I don't know which one I prefer. Yeah, let's stick with this one. All right, let's see how it looks like with volume back and with all our lights. So it's way too dark. This means that this material here is too dark, or we don't have enough light coming in. Let's try first to change this color here. All right, and also change the environment. Let's try to set that to a more gray, more white. Okay, that's cool. And some less medium, so decrease the density of that. and you have a nice render here. Well, not my best one, of course, but it's kind of cool. So, and it's easy to do, so we can improve a little bit the roughness on this one. I want some reflection here. All right. Then we can add some depth of field, some vignetting here, and you can play with the saturation, of course, but just don't abuse the saturation like that. You can change the LUT. And I want also to edit the phase here, so a little more. All right, that's cool. Just last refinement, and let's add a depth of field. So increase the aperture and switch to normal kernel so you can see what's happening in real time. I'm going to pick up our focal point here and increase the aperture a lot more. Oh, this is not working well because of the focal length, but it's alright, just a little bit. All right. I'm just going for a beauty render, but this is pretty much it. And there you have your nice render of a gold and black mandelbulb, and this took me just 1 minute to render.